When I was a boy, growing up in a small village in Quebec, two events were mandatory: the Mass on Sunday and the Saturday night hockey game.
C'est l'équipe au Canadien. Blake Mosdell et Richdy passe de Blake et Mosdell. Plusieurs joueurs du tricolore.
First published in 1979 in French and then later translated into English, The Hockey Sweater by Roch Carrier has been widely celebrated as a staple of Canadian children's literature. Carrier's short story, which was also adapted into a film by the National Film Board of Canada in 1980, is based on his real-life experiences growing up in the small town of Saint-Justine in rural Quebec. On the surface, The Hockey Sweater is a light-hearted tale about a young boy who outgrows his old Montreal Canadiens hockey jersey and is then forced to purchase a new one. When the Edens package arrives, however, the protagonist, young Carrier, is devastated to learn he has been sent a Toronto Maple Leafs uniform instead of the Montreal Canadiens one. The book version of The Hockey Sweater was illustrated by Montreal resident Sheldon Cohen and is commonly read aloud in school classrooms or at home to children as a bedtime story. However, Carrier's story was originally intended for adult readers. Underlying the major plot events, there are several important themes relevant to Canadian history and culture, including issues of religious authority, the relationship between nationalism and sport, but namely the tension between French and English Canadians, a rivalry which continues to divide our country even today. It's significant to note that The Hockey Sweater was written only 7 years after the FLQ crisis and during some of the most intense protests for Quebec separatism. The linguistic and cultural differences between these two communities are developed in the story primarily through symbolism. The source of the main conflict in the story, the Toronto Maple Leafs jersey, is a symbol of English-Canadian culture. In wearing the jersey, the protagonist is not only seen as betraying his favorite hockey team, he is also seen as betraying Quebecois culture as a whole. As a result, he is ostracized from his teammates and benched by his coach. Mr. Eden's decision to send the Leafs jersey to a community of well-known Habs fans is also significant because it represents a long-standing legacy in Canadian history of the English trying to impose their cultural preferences on the Francophone minority. The local priest explicitly references this legacy, scolding, "My child, you're not going to lay down the law around here just because you're wearing a Maple Leaf sweater." Perhaps what Carrier's story does best, therefore, is illuminate the way that being Canadian and identifying aspects of Canadian culture is an extremely complicated and nuanced struggle. Because even small, sometimes trivial things, like what team you cheer for or what jersey you're wearing, can have a huge impact on a nation's identity.